she was going to be involved too.
Oh, okay. Well, that's true. Yeah, Judy's one of our unofficial members. Well, we'll get started and then, see where we go. So I take it, Cheryl, you're doing the minutes and all that.
Yeah.
Call to order here. One thing, Taylor, just checking, are you recording these or not? Oh, you are recording. I see it.
Yeah, so I just started the live stream to Facebook, so you are good to go.
Oh, okay. I see. Yeah, I see on mine a record button, but I don't have that control probably. So.
And Taylor, are we allowed to mute and unmute ourselves? I wasn't able to get back on.
Yeah, so I have it so that people can't unmute themselves just for Zoom bombing purposes. So if you do mute yourself, I will have to unmute you. But
how do we let you know?
Yeah, just give me a wave.
Okay, that's what I was trying to do. Because I mean, it's just if someone comes through and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we probably don't need to be muted unless things. It looks like Judy's coming in, so we'll wait a moment. Yeah. Hi, Judy.
Hello.
No, we were just getting ready to get started without you, but now you're here, so we're starting with you.
All right.
So I guess we call to order the kind of agenda we all have in front of us. I think the main couple things are the annual report will be the main focus. So probably kind of go through other stuff fairly quickly. I think I distributed the meeting minutes from last meeting, so I'll entertain a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second.
And then any discussion, any edits? Hearing none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We'll move through that. Public comments, or Judy, do you want to be a public tonight, or?
I have no comments. Thank you. I'll wait till my turn.
Yep. Okay. So action item list. One thing kind of to update is Judy sent along from the SISMA. They were requesting locations of Phragmites, so I'll probably go take a walk out and see what's remaining kind of off the lake. I think the on lake Phragmites, the big reeds are, I think Steve Hansen got those under control, but we want to make sure the ones that are on Webster Road and along the dike are taken care of. Other than that, I think old business we'll get to is talking about the waterless cleaning station a little bit and go from there. And then actually it's under old business. I spoke with Karen. I have here, she approved purchase of the beetles, and I just sent her that order information this week. So hopefully that gets ordered and delivered in May when the beetles are ready to chomp on our purple loosestrife. So any other updates on that? I think minor things. I think we've had the information come round for the lake monitoring program and some of the training. So we'll get ready to go on that once the water is softer than it is today. I went out last week before the real bitter cold and measured 11 inches of ice. So we're going to have ice for a little while. So okie doke. So next up, Friends of Park Lake report. Judy?
Good evening. Friends of Park Lake met last week or the week before, and we did vote to purchase the boat cleaning station called the Roadside, and allocated $1,000 for that. And I will make phone calls, reach out to people to see if I can raise the remainder of the money. Leon has generously donated a portion of that. But before I do the final outreach for that, I want to make sure what the unit will cost delivered. You know, I know what they say in the brochure, what it will cost, but I want to know what it will cost delivered. So we be sure to get enough money together. We also will be planting trees. Our goal will be 75 this spring. We'll order them from the Clinton County Conservation District. They cost about $5 a piece. And we'll try to do that on April 24th. Then we'll pick the trees up on the 23rd and plant on the 24th. We hope to do that in family groupings in order to keep protocols correct, so if we have, a family grouping of 2 or 3 people, they can probably plant, 5 to 7 trees. Hopefully some of the holes will be pre-dug for us. We have a partnership with the township, and Public Works is supposed to go out and do some preliminary work for us around the areas that'll be marked by Gary before we actually go in there and cut trees. I'm also working with MDOT to get some of the debris cleaned up behind the park. They took a couple of trees down there last year in the fall, and they just left the tree where it fell, and it needs to be cleaned up. It was going to fall on the pavilion, and that's why we asked them to take it down. So, and we all, one more thing, we are still planning to do a summer celebration. We haven't decided on the date yet, but once we decide on the date, we'll let you know when that'll be and what it'll look like. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. Any questions for Judy? Okay, seeing none.
What month was that tree planting?
Tree planting, April 24th.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Okay, good. So moving on, I don't think we have a direct township report, but I did reach out by email to so Joe Benzie and Jason
Almergy.
And I got the impression that Jason at least is interested in kind of attending our meetings. Kind of, as my understanding, there's contention at the Board of Trustee level about official representatives to boards and such, but I think he's interested in attending. I did send him the link for tonight, but also said we're, working on the annual report, so it may not be all that interesting. So hopefully we'll have a little bit better connection there. Again, the annual report's our opportunity to kind of, engage with the Board of Trustees. So I think that's all good. Oh, Judy had a comment?
Dan, I did attend the township board meeting last night. It went on till after 10, but they did accept your letter from the Park Lake Advisory Board and Friends of Park Lake about the nature trail.
Oh, so when you say they accepted the letter, does that mean they reinstated that budget item, or just they acknowledged
that the letter had been received and it was in their board packet for everyone to read?
Okay, well at least I communicated. How they act on it is their choice. So that's good. It's good to know that it's not kind of getting lost in the Ethernet somewhere.
And I have spoken to Jason. He is very interested in Park Lake Advisory Board.
Yeah. So we'll move forward. That's how we go. Here I'm just making notes of my own. So I don't think we have a Parks and Rec report. That's a longer term kind of issue. So jumping to old business, I mentioned the weevils already, but the cleaning stations, as Judy mentioned, the Friends of Park Lake agreed to allocate some of the Friends of Park Lake money toward the purchase of a unit. Leon kind of stood up and said he'd donate. I'm willing to donate some too. I'll say that here rather than there. It's just didn't want to kind of shame people there into donating. I think though, I don't recall how much of it I conveyed at the last meeting, that Karen at least seems, kind of willing to kind of bring it up at the township level. However, there's, I think, some intent on the part of at least her, if not the broader board, to talk about renovations to the boat launch area. I think the biggest issue she identified was there's a fair amount of water that runs off from the park on the other side of the road on that kind of parking area, runs across Park Lake Road right into the lake, and So that was kind of one issue. I've been there. When it rains real heavy, we get a lot of sediment come in at that point. The other thing I think is just the arrangement of the parking lot can be difficult for boating, and then potentially it'd be difficult for a boat wash station to really operate effectively, depending what type of station it is. So the one part that wasn't clear, and it requires kind of the coordination between Karen and the Board of Trustees, is when do they envision this potentially happening? Is it next year? Is it 5 years out? I think, our tenor and that of the Friends of Park Lake is, we don't want to wait 5 years before taking any action if we're waiting on renovations. However, if it's likely to happen in 2022, that may not be the best time to invest in a lower end unit if kind of investing in the higher end will come around within that short time frame. So I would like to have that perhaps as part of our discussion when we present the annual report to the Board of Trustees. I think that's a query I'd like to make of them. So I'd like to make sure kind of, we have our questions, if you will, clear. So I guess I'll say that's on that topic. My main question is the board envisioning this kind of, not asking for a guarantee, but a yes or no and time frame, because that'll inform what the Friends of Park Lake kind of really wants to do with their investment.
I would suggest when you make the report that with turning that in, that you give that question to them in advance.
Okay.
I'm not sure if Karen's had the discussions with staff or if she's had the discussion with the board. So if you're going to ask the board's opinion, the board probably needs to know that in case they don't.
Okay. Oh, good. So one would be kind of, so I think one question we'd like to put to the board. So I think your suggestion's a real good one, Leon, is when I do the kind of letter submitting the report, I'll also say, here are some questions we would like to engage with the board at that time. It's an opportune time. And one is the boat launch. I think the other is kind of, board representation or communication, that they're
Right.
different, but we'd like to have some clarity there, I think.
Yep.
Okay, so very good advice, Leon. Yeah. Other thoughts on that, or does that sound like a reasonable way to go? So yeah. Oh, go ahead, Cheryl. Oops, you're muted.
Hey, Taylor, so I got kicked off my internet. What did I miss? Something.
Oh, I didn't notice you froze, and it's like, I'm looking at Leon because that's right. So basically, we were saying when the report is submitted, I'll submit a couple of kind of queries to the board in advance just to kind of make sure we're not catching them cold. And that's, again, real good advice. One is, again, on the boat launch and whether they envision updating that. The other is just talking about Board of Trustee, either representation or communication with our board.
Gotcha.
So I think those are good things. If we have other kind of queries to them, that would be the time to do it. Okay. So I think that covers the kind of the cleaning station issue. So with that, I think we'll jump into the report writing. Leon sent some comments. Actually, I think he's the only one who sent me written, kind of typewritten out. So I'm going to use what he sent as a base. I haven't looked at it, so there's no profanity there, right, Leon?
Correct.
I'm kidding. Basically, I'm going to see if, okay, so Taylor, could you allow me to share screen so I can put up the report? Okay, and so what I suggest, and so now, you're all in a little, kind of a little box off to the side for me. So I may not see you if you wave very well. What I suggest we just go page by page, and kind of any comments I'll try to capture. And if they're bigger comments, I'll just note. The one I noted, I hadn't put any photos other than a draft cover photo, so we'll see where that goes. This was actually one of the game camera that was doing the boating photos last year. It happened to run right at one of our nicest sunsets with somebody out on a stand-up paddleboard. So I thought that was
It's great.
Cool photo. So the table of contents, of course, I'll make sure the numbering's right. I think I annotated the water level report. The one thing I haven't done is check with the drain commissioner. I don't know if they pulled out 1 or 2 boards, or if somebody knows off the top of the head.
1.
They pulled
One board. Yeah.
1.
Yeah.
So I'll annotate that. I think that was a suggestion we had for the water level reports, to interpret them properly. Just make kind of notes or running notes of when the water control structure isn't kind of operating at that kind of the stated lake level. I didn't send out, Steve Hansen sent me a couple of files from their analysis. So they had some water quality analysis and some macrophyte sampling. So I think that's good. I think in years past, we actually haven't gotten that data. So I think this is a good move forward to try to encourage him to do that, mainly for documentation purposes. So Judy provided a summary, and we'll get there. Steve Hansen provided a summary of his activities, and then I'll add photos. So like I said, we'll go page by page, but I'll go quick. Anything on the intro? No. The executive summary, I think. Did you add this, Leon?
So yeah, so what's in that was I had two parts. That one was about the board representation.
Yep.
And I don't know if that's the right place to put it, but I think it should go somewhere, even if you're going to talk about it separately. I think it should be in the report.
Yeah. So I personally agree, and I think this is a good place to put it. So
You can reword it if you want.
yeah. I think it's well worded myself.
Okay.
So again, so just feel free. I will take silence as acquiescence. So I'm hearing silence, so that'll stay. I'll take the highlighting off. You added a little part here about the drain commissioner. So
right, just that, because it's not whether or not, I mean, it should be made apparent that he's the one who's responsible. The board may not know that, so it's a place to.
Yeah, no, that's good. The one thing, a standpipe, I couldn't think of a synonym that's not even more technical or confusing.
What is it? I have no idea.
Oh, that's just where the pipe comes up and the water flows over the top if the water gets up too high. So
Maybe just the drainage system.
Well, it wasn't as I changing the word, but explain what it is.
Yeah.
Just put that in parentheses, what that is then.
Yeah, we could also put, as Cheryl said, just the drainage system, because there is an underground part they replaced too.
Okay.
Yeah, they replaced
change
the
that to drainage.
culvert.
Okay.
So let me. There. I think that's, I mean, we don't have to be real technical about exactly the work done, just.
Do you need in this area then, or just take it out now?
There's other drainage systems around the lake, so
Okay.
that was all they addressed.
Yep. Fine.
Should you make that overflow drainage to let people know exactly what's going on there? Because technically that's what that is.
Okay.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
Okay. Page 2, I'm not seeing any none from Leon, or page 5 now, I guess it's our second one. objectives. Oh, so good question here. Yeah, I'll have to check when the last stalking was. Again, I didn't notice that when I was skimming through. That was
Right.
quite a while ago. So
Yeah, I just happened to see it.
yeah. So I've got to. Here, I'm just going to make my to-do list on a separate page. Okay, swimming, lake aesthetic. Here's where, whoops, sorry. Oh, yeah. So this,
So either take it out or put conducted and give a couple sentences about what was found if we have.
And then just, I mean, she had a whole report, right? We could just add that to an appendix or something.
I think we did that in the past, so it's pretty lengthy, so.
So just refer to a previous report, like.
Yeah.
Report, because aren't these all stored online somewhere?
Yeah, they are. So here, I think in 2018, they conducted a study of using their findings.
Suggested it would work, but it's really expensive.
Well,
like
it actually,
Actually, they said that we had too many Eurasian milfoil in the lake for it to work, and before we would consider it, we had to get the milfoil under control.
well, that the other issue was that the aeration, we're actually oxygenated to the bottom across most of the lake, so it wouldn't do anything in that regard. So that I'll word something, and then maybe we'll see how y'all think. So their findings indicated that
it wasn't a good fit for Park Lake or something.
It was not a good fit for this. That look reasonable?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, this paragraph probably could be cut. We have somewhere we talked about when it was installed, so this was more a forward-looking. So does that sound reasonable to cut that?
Yeah.
Okay. So here's where, this is, just new text. A lot of the other stuff is old, but that it looks like, again, I think Leon read quite closely. This looked okay to folks?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then wildlife.
That was changed from is to was.
Yeah, just a good tense. And then minor edits here. So our kind of major accomplishments.
2020.
Yeah, I mean we still accomplish stuff, but yeah. So then, again, I think most of this is new or summary from Steve. So did that read reasonably well to others? Leon didn't put comments. Oh, all good?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, Leon looked here. Oh, shoot. So here, one sec, because I did have Judy's summary in my other document before I sent it to out and got Leon's back. So let me get to the right place here. Okay, so I'll paste this here and let you all read it. I'll zoom in a little bit. So I took Judy's material she sent, and I just kind of, it was more kind of bullet level. So why don't you read that? There is a question here I'll bring up that Judy brought up, so we'll wait to do that until after this part.
Seems fine.
Yep.
There's yeah, that it seems fine. Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Cheryl, what was that?
Yeah, it seems fine.
Okay. Everybody good with that? So
Yes.
one thing Judy mentioned was the township has purchased the property that's kind of adjacent to the boat launch. And I think the house that's adjacent to the park is my understanding was it's slated for demolition, but I thought that was going to happen quite a bit ago. So Judy mentioned we might want to highlight that as a kind of a township activity. And I'm open to that. I think it does recognize it. On the other side, though, that's something that the Board of Trustees has never communicated to us as part of their plans and what they plan to do with that. So I think, again, it highlights that kind of lack of communication. So what I would suggest is not recognizing it, because at one level, our board hasn't even really been informed other than informally. But I think that goes along with the questions about the boat launch. How do they envision that fitting in?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the two options, we can include some comment on that here, but I have no written facts, or we can use it as a question. Judy had something to say, I think. Whoops.
Judy's muted.
And I think
Taylor.
yeah, I don't know if Taylor, if you could mute.
I got it. When Cindy Kronk was a trustee and they purchased that property, I thought it was interesting that she suggested to me, since there was power and water there, maybe we want to put the boat wash station over there, and it would save all the expense that they were looking at for putting a real boat wash station at lake level.
Right, and I think that's a reasonable suggestion, although as you found out, Judy, it's the kind of draining and the potential for gas and oil was the major impediment. But again, I think the point is, again, nothing kind of has come to us officially. So
No communication, right?
Yeah, and I mean, we should actually be somewhat involved if they're going to be renovating it, so that it's not going to be harmful to the lake. So
I think exactly.
So I
Yeah.
think this is a third query for your letter, that it is our understanding that the township purchased this, and whether it's two pieces or whatever, and we were wondering what the plans are for.
Yeah, the plans for the property and the plans for our involvement.
Right.
Redevelopment, yeah.
Okay, so I will do that. So thank you, Judy, for bringing up that topic.
Not a problem.
You're the kind of unofficial liaison, because you attend a fair number of the Board of Trustees meetings, and I can't say that I do. I just can't find the time to get there. So, here, I'll zoom back out a little bit. That it looks like I'm yelling. So here I just, and I did put the version I have, I added the 2021 action item list, just that's our documentation.
So are they both going to be on it, or just 2021?
What I've done in the past is put 2020 and 21 just to show how the action items have changed.
Okay, that's fine.
Like the future item really hasn't changed, but again, the same deal.
Yep.
Then we've got the historical Google Earth images we've always had. did I put a new one? I thought I got another one that was more recent. I'll double check. I might have done that like in the interim between sending it out to you all. Oh, and then the Park Lake water levels. Here, let me get down to. Oh, yeah, so I do have a new Google Earth image I added that just more so you all get to see it. I'll copy. Oh no, this is the same, sorry. Yeah, this one, it shows some of these like weed beds by the beach real clearly. The most recent image, yeah, the image is from 2018, but I accessed it there. Okay. But then the so the text I had added after was something to this extent. I can just read it quick. So I said the water control structure on the lake became operational in July 2014. So one board was removed in early 2020 to facilitate repairs to a culvert and was replaced later in the summer. So I think that again helps kind of interpret the water level data. So does that look reasonable to folks?
Yeah.
Yes.
The Secchi disc, again, I don't know if there's any real discussion, but just to observe, 2020 was one of our clearest years. We kind of had some of our highest water clarity, but the average water clarity for the whole year was way better than kind of our, if you'll average from the previous 7 years. So again, Don, or either that or Don, you just have better eyesight than me.
Oh, that's not what's going on there.
No, the lake was really quite clear.
It's clear, yeah.
You know, those are quite good clarities. We are we are averaging in 20. Oops. There we go. 2020, we are averaging 13 feet, so pretty good year. Here, again, if you have any edits, that's fine. But in 2020, a lot of things pretty similar with the muskgrass or the Cara, water lily, pondweeds, eelgrass a little down, bladderwort a little down. The milfoil, though, again, I think this is the evidence that Procellacor is really kind of doing the job. There are certainly spots kind of, tucked away that we don't really sample in this that have a lot of milfoil, but the lake body as a whole, we're up at 50% of sites, and then we're down at, 2019, I didn't find any that day. And 2020, I think it was one site. Spiny naiads never really been a problem. Coontail went down. Starry stonewort's been stable the last couple of years and actually a decline. And I don't have an explanation. The bushy pondweed's one that's interesting. It's bounced a couple of years. It was up at almost 50% of the places I went. Then darn near disappeared, and then it's back. Just a little bit of native milfoil. The big one, the Elodea, is one of our native plants that was always just at 1, 2, 3, 4%, and in 2019, 19, and then 57%. Just it was all over and very thick. And then the curly leaf pondweed, just more for not for the report, but for your kind of knowledge. So that one tends to come out earlier in the spring and then die back in the summer. So when we do the sampling, it's usually kind of knocked back by then. So I didn't come across any at the sites I sampled in the summer, but in the spring, I noticed it was far more prevalent than I'd seen previously. So that kind of bears some watching. I don't know if the Procellacor kind of hits it or not, but I think it's at the wrong time of year. We've had this, I didn't update that because that's been stable. The water quality, we didn't have any measurements, oops, in 2020 due to COVID. This I just, from previous years. The fish, we didn't have anything to add from previous years. The roster is, I think, consistent there. We think John encouraged me to do this one year, so still doing it. The climate report, just to interpret what's going on. We didn't do any E. coli measurements in 2020. The kind of the allocations here, I think, again, are fairly accurate. That was just a day sampling. I went out early in 2020 and it ends up I had the same number of geese nests, and I don't know where, I haven't mapped locations. They're probably darn near the same each year. So we've got a fair number of geese, our planning cycle. I think I added this, again, Cheryl's probably in tune with this, kind of with climate change, dates of ice on and ice out are changing, and that has implications for fish as well as other biota in the lake. So these are my best ones. The one I don't know where I got from, I didn't put a good note on mine, is from 2005. I wasn't here, but I think I saw that somewhere in a report. So we'll leave it at that. But I think it's interesting to note there was 2017, the ice went out on the 21st of February. So that's 4 days from now. And then we had 1 year, it went out the 8th of April. So pretty broad range of time. It can happen almost any time. And then in ice on, I think I put the 8th of January. And that was where I was traveling, so I'm not 100% sure on that. I should probably add that.
Well, 2020, it was really warm. We didn't get very much. Yeah, it was a warm year, so that makes sense.
Oh,
for this year,
20. Yeah, this year it, like I said, Sue and I went to New Hampshire over the holidays, so I think it froze before.
It was around Thanksgiving.
Well, we had a freeze and then it opened and freezed and it did a few of those. So.
Right.
Oh wait, I messed this up.
Yeah.
So actually I don't have this year's. This is what happened last year. Sorry, I'm thinking I had put a line for this year's. So we'll note that.
So this year it froze. I don't know what it froze. I think.
Yeah. And again, if we don't have a precise date, I'll just, whatever.
I think it was. I just gotten my dock in, so I think it was sometime in November.
Well, as I said, I had some notes because me too. I was out hunting until the last day I could, which was in early December. So we had a freeze. It opened, it froze again, and then it reopened. So we had open water around mid-December, but then I don't know when it really I didn't make a good note of when it finally locked up. So the boat counts, this, I think I had it last year. I dropped off photos to Don a couple days ago. So he's going to kind of work from the back end in October. And I finished May, I made a note to myself. So in 2019, we had kind of 292 observations of boats for the month, again, counting all the photos. In 2020, there were 700. more than twice as many. So I've gotten partway through June, and so I can't predict right yet. But
And July is the winning month, huh?
July is the month when we, at least, and who knows this, and again in 2020 what we're going to see. So,
Yeah.
so I'll, if we finish some of this in time, it can get, added for 2020. But we're getting there. We gotta, we'll get there, and then I'm, coordinate with John. Agreed to do some. So that is the end of the report. So not to pick on people, just make sure. So Don, was there anything you saw you wanted added, changed?
Everything looked really good. I just wanted to mention that I'm going to have to get with you about the boat report because I've had a little bit of trouble there.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. But the report here, the annual report looks good. Right?
Looks good.
All right. So John, again, you two have been quiet. So any areas you would like to see changed or edits?
Not to be changed. I have some questions about some data, but it's not going to change anything here. So I'll ask you about that later.
Okay. Yep. So if we, any detailed data, John's the man for that. So we'll take that. And then kind of Cheryl, I'll jump to you. Any?
I just added a few things when you were talking, so it's good.
Okay. And then Judy, although you're not kind of official, you're certainly a valued contributor, so I look for your input too. Oops, Judy's still muted.
I just wonder if there should be mention of the fact that property owners, lakeshore property owners, purchased weed treatment services from Steve.
Okay, yeah, I'll jump up there. I think Steve did put a small note about that.
There were quite a few this year. There were more last year.
Let me see.
Is he going to send it out again for the season?
Yes, he will.
Yeah, so again, it's basically just one sentence. It encompassed 22 acres and shoreline residential areas for residents who requested. So
right, okay.
So it's in there. It's not really highlighted. Again, I don't think we have an actual count, and whether that's kind of their business stuff. So I don't know if we'd want to be putting that in the report.
But just that it's in there, that's important. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. Okay. So I think we've run through it all. As I said, I think I've got checking catfish stocking, the action item table. I did the Google Earth update already. So really, then it's just I'll look to throw some photos in. I think I've gotten some from folks in the past. I've got a stockpile. We can probably at the point I can go back to the ones we used the first couple of years we did this and recycle them. But I've got some other photos too. So with that, I guess I take executive direction here. I'll move that we accept the report with defer those a couple additions to my judgment. So
Second.
And Leon seconds.
Yes.
So any discussion on that? No. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. So I will, fairly soon. I got test to grade and that kind of nonsense that pays my bills. But I should be able to get this completed here, within probably a week or less, and get it at least submitted up. I may draft these questions and just ask, for quick, overview, because I appreciate your input. And then we'll see when we get on the schedule to kind of present formally to the board.
And then when you present, not in addition to the questions, so when you're done, you would ask them, do they have any questions?
Right.
But then I would bring up and we are up, and our question is, this is what we're doing. Is there something else that the board would like us to be doing to give them a chance to have some say in directing us if they want? I mean, there's enough people now on the board that have either been members of the Park Lake Advisory Board and stuff like that. Steve Wiswasser was, way back when. And so what are we doing? Are we on track with what they want, or is there things that they're looking from us that we haven't done yet?
Yep, no, it's good suggestion, Leon. So that, like you said, that's part of the point of presenting a report is,
right.
And I'm one, with my students, I ask that question a lot, give me feedback, but if I'm on the right track, also affirm I'm on the right track, because otherwise I'll just keep going, or change it for somebody else and it may be fine. So, okay, no, good, all good advice.
Yeah, I mean, because when I was on the board, I mean, we would just get these reports, but we wouldn't, and I was on the advisory board, but we wouldn't do anything with it. So
there's no some
interaction.
Right.
Some two-way communication would be good.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think that, it's always important, but I think this past year kind of highlighted that. So, okay. Well, very good. I've got kind of my marching orders. I think our next meeting's slated for March 17th. I don't know how much we'll have, so I'll kind of see what comes our way timing wise and kind of evaluate the week or so before whether we really need to meet or not.
Okay.
So
and thank you, Dan, very much for doing this. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks. No, this year, again, there wasn't as much as normal, and I kind of kept up on some of it. But the boat photos those are time consuming and challenging, as Dawn's kind of going to talk to me about. But we'll get there. And again, it's at least gives some good indication of what's going on in a quantitative way. So again, I think my bias there is. We talk about parks and recreation. It's just highlighting there are, thousands of hours of boating on the lake, every year. That's a huge benefit for people for a recreational outlet. So, So, all righty, good. Well, with that, I think I'm ready to call adjournment.
So moved.
All right. So.
Of course.
So, okay, well, John and Dawn, I'll chat with you too, kind of, I don't know if, John, you wanted to just keep on going here tonight, or we can chat privately another time.
Either way.
Yeah, maybe another time, just I've had 3 hours on Zoom with my students for class today. I'm about done. Dawn, likewise, we can catch up about the photos, perhaps sometime in the next few days. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay. Good.
Thank you very much for your work.
Well, thank you. Thank you all. And thank you, Taylor.
See you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.